Hey guys, what's going on? New hero pool. Not very new, ends in about an hour, but it's this week's hero pool. I've been incredibly busy, could not post this video until now, unfortunately, but I have been telling people who've been asking what I think about this pool and whether or not I think it's been worth it. But let's get right into it. So we already knew everybody who was going to be in this pool, basically guaranteed. Wrath, Kamikaze, Kosher, Iron Sentinel, and the Wanderer. Basically just through process of elimination, they're the only heroes left. And it's correct. So as you can see on the screen, I have these charts, the same thing that I have been doing the previous several pools. These are my charts. I'm making these, so it's not a function of the game. So don't take them as, I don't know, set data. This is my opinion, and I am making these, like I said, just FYI. Yeah, in case you don't agree with me, you don't have to look at the charts. So anyway, let's get right into the pool. The first hero is Wrath. He's the kind of the priority hero. He's the main hero in the pool. He's one of the two newest Season X heroes, Wrath and Tracker. So not too many people have him maxed, really only the big dogs so far, but more and more people will be getting him maxed and using him more. So in this chart, going clockwise, we have tank, support, CC, damage, and adaptability. Now, Wrath is a support vehicle hero. He is not a tank. He is not at all. His sixth ability gives him plus vehicle damage, and he gives might instead of resistance. Those are generally two of the ways that you can immediately identify a tank, and then the others is obviously their skills. So he's not a tank in any way. He is a pretty good support. That's kind of his main thing. He belongs sort of in the middle row, pretty much always. Obviously, when I say something like always or never, don't take those as fact, but that's sort of just general guidance. So his main ability is actually this reflecting armor, and this is for support at least. So basically, every time a friendly squad receives damage, they gain a stack of this sort of reflecting armor, and then once it reaches 9 stacks, it basically reflects whatever damage that they're taking in, shoots it back to whoever gave it to them. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It also has a chance to reactivate again, but it's all part of the same skill. So it's very good. It goes on all 3 of the squads, including Wrath, the front row, and the back row, whoever it is. So very good. His 5th ability, Shattering Fist. So this is an okay skill. It's not like amazing, but every single turn he's going to deal 108 damage to all enemy squads. So generally what you do with this, you take the number, multiply it by the amount of squads. So in this case, 324% damage. But he also attacks his own team for 20% of the damage dealt. Really the only reason this is good is actually just because it gives him an increase of this reflecting armor, right? So every single turn, all 3 squads are going to get at least 1 extra stack. That's pretty much it. The 20%, it's not a whole lot of damage because just off the rip, he's not doing that much damage. So it's kind of just a free stack, more or less. His 15th, like I said, pretty much the same as normal, 15% might and resistance, and then increased vehicle damage. Already declared he's a might hero, and then his last ability is Thunder Fury, so he reduces troop recovery for both the enemy and friendly squads by 25%, which is interesting. He's kind of a double-edged sword. But starting on turn 4, he reduces troop recovery for all enemies by -15 per turn, and this stacks. So eventually they'll have very little troop recovery, and not his friendlies. So that's kind of Wrath. As I said, he's absolutely not a tank. He has a lot of support due to reflecting armor. I'm considering troop recovery block CC nowadays because that's what the game is kind of pushing towards. Is that troop recovery block is actually a form of CC. If you don't know, CC is crowd control. It basically just affects a certain squad's movements or attacks. So confusion, silence, disarm, suppression are kind of the normal ones, and then now I'm adding this recovery troop block. So that's that's pretty much Wrath. He goes very well in the middle. He's pretty adaptable. As you can see, adaptability is basically what combos he can go into. Does he need specific combos? Does he need specific heroes to go along with him? He really doesn't. Some interesting combos are Heaven's Redemption, Wrath, Countdown. That's basically a really good 5th APC right now. But also something like Kamikaze, Wrath, Death Rider, Tech Priestess Wrath, Hummingbird, kind of any of the good heroes together with Wrath will do even better. You'll see him used very, very frequently in Champion Duel and the very highly competitive states, basically because of this troop recovery block. So it sort of counters the meta. Anyway, let's move on. I've been talking about Wrath for a little bit too long. Kamikaze. Now, Kamikaze's been around for quite some time. He is arguably one of the best tanks in the game, as should be indicated. He's a defense vehicle hero, meaning he generally goes in the front line. He's got some decent support, so he does troop recovery pretty much always. Every single turn. Every single turn he does troop recovery. So he actually has pretty decent recovery, but I only rated his support a little bit low just because that's really the only thing that he does. He doesn't really give too much. This as well is actually pretty solid for support, so maybe I should have given him a 3, but it doesn't really matter. Kamikaze is still one of the best heroes in Season X, which I'll be telling you the score after. So he doesn't do any CC. He basically has 0. He does some damage. He does okay damage, basically just counterattack damage, but nothing amazing. And he's very adaptable. He can go in vehicle lineups very well. He can also go in mixed troop lineups very well as well. So Kamikaze, fantastic hero. Like I just said, probably top 3 in Season X overall. Nomad, Death Rider, Kamikaze is probably my top 3 in Season X, so it doesn't really matter what I give him on the charts, to be honest. He gets a 4 out of 4. Wrath similarly gets a 4 out of 4. A 3 out of 4. I had forgotten to mention that earlier, so that's why I'm doing it now. I apologize. Anyway, let's move on from Wrath and Kamikaze. Now we have Kosher. So Kosher is a defensive archer. He's a shooter hero. He's our first shooter hero. Kosher is pretty interesting. So he's a pretty good tank. He basically does self-damage reduction. But he's not like amazing just because of the way that the game really works. He gets plus HP and he gives himself resistance, so he's fairly good in terms of not dying, if that's all that really matters. So after basic attacks, there's an 80% chance to decrease damage taken, and that stacks. So you could have this much higher, but it's not guaranteed. It does require some, actions to be taken. He has pretty decent support, so he basically gives extra basic attack, 35% chance to make 2 random friendly squads attack twice. And this can be good, but it's really only good in certain combos, because most of the time basic attacks are kind of irrelevant. Depending on the hero that you have, it could be very good, but most heroes it's sort of irrelevant. He does okay damage, nothing amazing. It's kind of just this ability right here, and he's not that adaptable. I mean, it's kind of unfair to say that, but in Season X and the Season X meta, he really only pairs well with Nomad and Rose. Like, when I say well, I mean really well. So you can do something like Kosher Deus Ex Nomad. You can do something like Kosher Betrayed Rose, Kosher Betrayed Nomad, Kosher Tracker Nomad, but it pretty much relies on him having Nomad or Rose in the lineup. I mean, you could do something like Kosher or Deus Ex Kosher Hummingbird. That would work as well, but there's not too much synergy there between Kosher and Bird. You're kind of just putting in heroes just because they're the best heroes that you have. So let's move on to Iron Sentinel. Oh yeah, and I should mention Kosher gets basically a 2.5. I'm going to give him a 3 because he definitely is using some combos, especially with Rose. I'm using him. I would use him in the defense queue. Like I said, basically Kosher Betrayed Rose is a pretty decent full shooter combo to, to defend against heavy vehicle APCs. So Iron Sentinel, not too good. As you can see by his stats, none of them are like amazing. He's kind of just a sort of jack of all trades, but really a master of none. And even his all trades aren't that amazing. He's okay. So basically he's just a full on support. He buffs and debuffs pretty much everything. Damage, reduced damage, combat speed for his friendlies, and then basically the same thing. So enemies will deal less damage, take more damage, and yeah, I don't know. He's kind of weird. But he does have some CC. He has recover block, which is decent. That can be really good depending on the squads that you're going against, but it is sort of reliant on the squad you're facing off against. And then basically just, again, more buffs. He has a splash status, but it's really only applicable to basic attacks, and this only really applies to Nomad, but there are just better heroes to pair Nomad with, so Iron Sentinel kind of gets a downgrade for that. Now, he's fairly tanky, he gets HP and he gets resistance, but I mean, he doesn't really have anything that makes him like specifically tanky. It's really just his attributes. So he's not that good all around. His adaptability's fairly low. It's kind of just fighter squads. I mean, you can pair him, like I said. You can do something like Iron Sentinel, Canoness, Nomad. That's a decent squad. Iron TP Nomad, decent squad. But generally, Iron Sentinel is not used in maxed bases. You can plug him in. He's going to be better than some of your other heroes like Juggernaut or, Knight or the Wanderer. But he's definitely not up to the level of some other heroes. So he gets a 2. Not much else to say about that. And then finally, the final hero, Wanderer. Wanderer is bad, period. One of the worst Season X heroes, if not the worst. He just really does nothing. His second ability, after basic attacks, there's a 30% chance to deal a little bit more damage, and they'll take additional damage, but this is such a low percentage chance, and he deals so little damage that it's kind of odd. He does do this armor break thing, which is kind of like Lone Wolf, sort of, where he lowers their defense by -200. That's actually decent. If you have like a glass cannon APC, it's sort of decent. It would work well with somebody like Bird, like Hummingbird, for example. But generally speaking, you don't really need to lower the defense like this. So it's kind of not as good as it seems on paper. He has +20 combat speed, which isn't much, but it'll basically make fighters go first. Or at least him go first. He also gets +20 might and resistance, which is more than others. But it's just not enough. He gives plus might to fighters. Yeah, and then he gives evasion, so he has a little bit of support. He gives evasion to the front row, 50% chance. But it's only for 3 damage, for 3 damages over 2 turns, so it's really just not that important. I mean, it can save the game, but it's probably not going to. Now, the Wanderer would pair well with somebody like Lone Wolf, because Lone Wolf is basically all about damage. That's pretty much what she does. She's just supposed to damage people, and she's a fighter hero that damages people. but I don't know. Neither of them are really good enough for it to matter. You would do something like, you could literally do something like Iron Sentinel, Wanderer Lone Wolf, or Cannon Wanderer Lone Wolf, TP, something like that. But it's just not going to be that good. So Wanderer, unfortunately, buddy, you get a 1 out of 4. So this pool, it's not that good on paper. I mean, it gets a 70 out of 10, but that's only because Kamikaze is in here. And Wrath. They're really the only 2 heroes that you need. Kosher is decent. If you can get Kosher, get Kosher. But Iron Sentinel and the Wanderer really aren't needed. And the Wanderer is a big detractor from this pool. So generally, I would say, since it's the very last pool, go for it. If you have the tickets, if you have 1,000 tickets or above, or you have multiple copies of these heroes, go for it. Otherwise, no. Save it. They will be in next season. They'll be in pools next season, and they might even be in better pools next season. You don't need Wrath and Kamikaze together. They don't need to be combined. So it's not a situation where it's like previously, where it's like Tracker, Hunk, and Nomad were all in the combo, and you want all 3 of them. In this combo, it doesn't really matter like that. Or in this pool, it doesn't really matter like that. There's no like guaranteed combo just off the rip. So I would probably just suggest for everybody to save, not really go on this. I mean, unless you have enough tickets, or like I said, you have multiple copies of these heroes. That's pretty much it. If you went for this pool, not a problem at all. It's good, especially if you got Kamikaze's, Wraths, or Kosher's. If you didn't, it's kind of unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, that is about it. I hope it helps. I know it's late. I'm sorry about that. I will do the November P1 token shop video right after this, so at least I'll get that up in time. All right, guys, take care. I hope your season has been at least okay. Ending fairly soon, ends in about a week, so make sure to get all those quests and all that fun stuff like that. All right, guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys are having a great day, great night, great morning. It was Halloween yesterday as of the recording of this, so hopefully you guys aren't terribly hungover. Anyway, happy Halloween. Stay safe. Have fun. Good luck. All right, peace.